All right, friends, it's T-Man. We're back with a video on BP Fitness again. We're gonna react to his video he just popped up. So, yeah, BP Fitness says strength standards for a Mogger physique. Okay.
So let's talk a bit about strength standards for a Mogger physique.
Sure.
And strength standards, for those who don't know, are basically quantifiable strength goals in certain exercises. The most common ones are a 2-plate bench press, right? A 3-plate squat, a 4-plate deadlift, right? Those are very powerlifting-centric strength standards. But specifically for hypertrophy and also for gym selling, right? Building a physique for the purpose of looks maxing, strength standards give a quantifiable goal for hypertrophy, and the progressive overload towards that strength goal basically indicates that we are building muscle and we are adding contractile proteins, right? Because
No, it's not. He's making that stuff up. Where is his proof that you are? Prove it.
your strength in an exercise is basically a function of two things: the neurological adaptations you have in that exercise and the contractile proteins, the muscle mass you have in the relevant muscle groups. So
It is, but what happens if? But here's the thing. But one can overtake the other. See what I mean? So neurological adaptations are the first thing that happen before any contractile proteins are ever grown. And you can consistently increase these motor units for lifting weights, neurological adaptations, and not get any contractile proteins at all whatsoever. If your weight is not going up in the scale, and I'm not talking about eating carbohydrates, okay? In order to see whether those are truly contractile proteins, you're gonna have to eat protein. You understand me? To build contractile proteins. Protein builds contractile proteins, but they only ever build if protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown. Now, if it does not outpace protein breakdown, you're not going to see any contractile proteins built in those muscles. Get it? What builds contractile proteins? Protein, not carbohydrates. But if you're eating carbohydrates and you gain weight, you're going to misconstrue that as being muscle. That isn't muscle. You're going to build non-contractile proteins.
let's say I've been bench pressing. Well, I'm not saying you should bench press. This is just an example. Let's say I've been bench pressing for 3 to 4 weeks, and I've been more or less neurologically adapted to the bench press.
Okay. Here's the thing. Yeah, you're neurologically adapted to the bench press. Neurologically. I like how he says neurologically adapted to it, man. Yeah, you're getting adaptations, neurological adaptations. But what are contractile proteins? What adaptations do they need in order for them to adapt? Well, they adapt from the eccentric part of the exercise. They don't necessarily adapt from the concentric. The concentric is a force going against gravity. So you're going to increase neurological drive when you push weight against gravity. But when you go with gravity, that's where the contractile proteins are built, because it needs to control the weight going down. It's the opposite direction. That's where people get injured. You need to, yeah. So anyways, so that's the part where you get structural damage or these micro damages in the muscle doing eccentric exercise. Now, I can't tell you how much damage you're getting. There could be very low level, very, very low level, very small. But again, whether you get low level damage or these micro damages or not, and they could be very low level. But here's the thing. If protein synthesis does not outpace protein breakdown, and it is consistent, it must be consistent, you being in an anabolic growth state, then you can forget it. That's why people take steroids. They take steroids so that they can stay in an anabolic growth state, because they're too lazy to go out and eat and stay anabolic in a natural state. They're just lazy people eating peasant slave food diets. So this guy is just blowing smoke, man.
That means that every rep I gain, every 5-pound jump in that exercise will have to mainly come from me adding more muscle mass, more contractile proteins.
Not necessarily. That 5-pound gain could be your carbohydrate, your peasant slave food diet. How do you know? Most people out there are eating 80% carbs and 20% fucking protein. And they're always listening to these people, 1 gram of protein per body weight. That's not what science says. Science says that protein synthesis must outpace protein breakdown to see that mass on that myofibrillar, to see those contractile proteins. It doesn't say you need 1 gram of fucking protein to build muscle. It says outpace. You need a reserve of protein, and it needs to be consistent.
My chest, shoulders, and triceps. So that's why this is so useful, because I wouldn't be able to bench press.
Yeah, that's why people are complaining out there. Newbie gain limits, genetic limit, hard gainer. They're never building. That's why they go take steroids, because they can't build these contractile proteins. Here's the thing. You're not going to build muscles because muscles are post-mitotic. You cannot build muscle, but you can build up the contractile proteins. Get it? To something called micro tears. You're micro tearing the muscle. It goes through a remodeling. So it depends. Low level, sometimes it may just a low level damage may just repair the muscle. It may just repair without remodeling. It'll just restore it the way it was. Depends. It really all depends what you're doing there. I don't know. I can't tell you. But I do know this. If protein synthesis does not outpace protein breakdown, if you're not in positive nitrogen balance, you ain't seeing jack shit in contractile proteins. You could lift forever. Because I watch channels. They're lifting forever. And they're not growing, man. They're not doing anything.
100 kilos if I don't have the contractile proteins. So if I can progressively overload to 100 kilos, then it would be impossible for me to not have the muscle. So it's a way of ensuring that you have.
What do you mean it's not impossible to have muscles because you're doing 100 kilos? What are you talking about?
You actually build muscle instead of just doing bullshit exercises for high reps like the Mike Israel.
This guy makes it sound like exercise has magic powers to build muscles because you lifted a weight. I got a stronger, so I should have gotten a bigger, 5 pounds bigger. How do you get 5 pounds bigger? 5 pounds bigger because you got a better at lifting a weight. That makes no sense, man. Then every mover out there, everybody that moves furniture and shit out there, they'd be fucking massive, bro. Get it? All these people working in factories and moving shit, they'd be fucking massive. It's bullshit. Says quantifiable goal for hypertrophy. Progressive overloads indicates effective training, adding contractile proteins. Yeah. But what training? It has nothing to do with you lifting for motor unit strength. You get it? Your training has to be specific towards gaining contractile proteins. So your training has to be geared towards that. And that training is called AIMD training. It's not called a progressive overload training. Get it? Anyways, e.g., I wouldn't be able to press 100 kilograms if I don't have enough contractile proteins. You already have contractile proteins. Man, are people really that dumb? He already has contractile proteins. You have muscle already on your body. That's what's allowing you to already lift the weight. Duh. You're recruiting motor units that are already there in the muscle. So they're proliferating, okay? That's what they're doing. Anyways, proteins. I don't have enough contractile protein muscle, so if I can't progress to that, it would be impossible for me not to have the muscle. What? That makes absolutely no sense. Anyways, whatever.
Stuff. But yeah, let's quickly talk about the traditional strength standards versus the BP fitness strength standards, if you want to call it that. So when it comes to the traditional strength standards, they're really powerlifting centric, right? Especially, it's like not as bad now, but in the past, all the gym culture in general has been very powerlifting centric, and it's been focused on the squat, bench, and deadlift, and maybe sometimes the overhead press. And
because they all think that lifting a heavy weight builds a muscle. They're stupid. That's not what builds muscles. You don't have to lift. And even when you start lifting, you don't just jump into lifting a heavy weight. You start light and you work your way up. In exercise-induced muscle damage training, you don't have to lift heavy, man. You get bigger, you get stronger. You come back and those weights feel lighter. That's how it works. But if you just keep trying to do a heavy weight, like jump in there and keep doing heavy weight, you're just wasting your time, man. The whole exercise is dependent to get these micro tears. You either overwork the muscle, in the just the eccentric or in full range of motion. But concentric is not going to work because there's so little damage going on there. But in a full range of motion, you can still get it in an eccentric exercise. Those are the two best to get these micro damages. Okay, but one is going to exhaust you and require even more energy output. But you don't have to lift heavy to get micro tears, to get bigger and stronger. And you'll still recruit these motor units. Get it? So yeah, but it is easier to lift heavier in the concentric because you're not moving for a full range of motion. You're only pulling the weight up so far, then you're lowering it. It really is about lowering the weight. That's the whole thing, controlling, lowering the weight. That's why it's so EIND training is so much easier when you're moving to build contractile proteins as opposed to just this motor unit recruitment pushing against gravity, because it stresses the shit out of you trying to move against gravity, pulling weight to increase motor unit drive. Get it? Yeah. But that's not going to cause, and that is based on concentric lifting. You're mostly concentric lifting. That's what a lot of people do. They do concentric because they're recruiting motor units. But it's associated with a loss of sarcomere in series because then it's going to start aligning in parallel.
Pro to this, but many cons to this. So the pro to the traditional strength standards of squat, bench, and deadlift that you might see in most gyms.
Yeah.
Is that it's easy to standardize, right? You're just using a barbell, it's accessible everywhere, and it's regulated by the sport of powerlifting. Now, the cons, there's a lot of cons, is that firstly, it's not completely optimal for hypertrophy, right? Barbells itself are not.
No, it can be optimal for hypertrophy, providing protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown. If it doesn't, then it's just a waste of time. Now, how you make it optimal is up to you. If you're doing powerlifting for repetition work, then yes, the muscle will get overworked and it'll get these micro tears. But if you're doing it for PRs or 5 times whatever, the 5x5 program, I don't know, these people that do these 5x5s, that's not enough. That's not enough to cause enough micro damage. Maybe very, very minute, very low level damage to the point where the muscle just says, you know what, we're just going to repair. We're not going to remodel anything here. Get it? But anyways, regardless, if protein synthesis doesn't outpace protein breakdown, it doesn't matter whether you got a 5x5 or a 10x5. Get it? You did a 5x10. If you're doing a 5x5 or a 5x10, it doesn't really matter. If it's not outpacing it, you could forget it. You're just wasting your time, man.
Bad for hypertrophy, but they're just subpar to.
That's why everybody's complaining out there. And muscles, you don't build contractile proteins eating peasant slave food diet. You eat it eating protein.
Like a Smith machine or just machines in general, right? And other isolation exercises. But the worst part, right?
Not necessarily. Powerlifting is bodybuilding. It's part of bodybuilding. They just pulled that part out. Well, I can literally build muscle doing powerlifting because I'm going to do repetition work with it. That's what. I'm going to use it for repetition. The overhead press, if you do like 5 times 10 let's say I do, well, you need more sets. So I don't know, maybe 10 times 10. If I do 10 times 10, just one exercise. Or no, you could do from front to back. Okay, let's say we do from the front and then we do from behind the neck, right? Yeah, powerlifting from the front, from the back. So 5 times 10, 5 times 10. That's quite a bit. All right, now the deadlift. Okay, the deadlift, I don't know, 10 times 10. That's quite a bit. The squat, 10 times 10. I don't know, whatever. You get the idea, man? So yeah. And the bench press, 10 times 10. So if I do all of those in one session, that's quite a bit in one session, right? In one workout. Now I go and I grow my muscles. I continuously grow them by being what? By being in positive nitrogen balance. That's what. There you go.
The worst part about traditional strength standards of squat, bench, and deadlift is that they are very conducive to a gym cell physique, right? Because think about it, when you focus on the squat, bench, and deadlift, 2/3 of your exercises are going to be focused.
That's a lie. It's because power lifters move for motor unit strength. So they don't use powerlifting to try to cause micro tears. They do a 5x5 program, or they do a 2 times whatever, 1 times 1 program, whatever, the PR program. Get it? They're just trying to lift the heaviest, as heavy as they can lift to recruit motor units. They're not trying to cause micro tears, because they'll get weak in the session. If they get micro tears, they'll get weakened and they won't be able to lift the weight
on your lower body. That's why a lot of these powerlifting type physiques, they're all very lower body dominant, and that's basically the opposite of what you want, because I talked about training legs and
lower dominant. I don't know any power lifters that are lower dominant. This is bullshit. They're not dominant at all, because they're not using it to try to build. They're not using it to try to build muscle. These contractile proteins.
giving legs a lot in my other videos, but basically you want.
I'm not saying that some people get some. Get it? They get some. They go and eat tons and tons of food. Maybe. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Some people get something. They're eating carbs. A lot of their weight is carbohydrate. It's non-contractile.
Your body to be more upper body dominant because it's more in line with your male sexual dimorphism, right? Males, we have.
Yeah, dude, man. Listen, man. If you're bench pressing and overhead pressing heavy weight, right? And you're doing it for sets and reps, powerlifting, what you would call powerlifting, yeah, you're gonna get they're gonna build up. They're gonna build up.
More mass proportionally on our upper body, whereas females have more mass proportionally on their lower body. So if you want to build this masculine dimorphic physique, then your physique should be more upper body dominant. Whereas if you have a more lower body physique, then it's actually more of a feminine physique. And also, if you look at the squat, bench, and deadlift, it basically creates the exact opposite of what is a aesthetic physique, right?
No, it doesn't, man. No, it doesn't. If you're on a high protein diet, not eating carbohydrates, you're gonna have low body fat, and doing high repetition, high set repetition workouts, doing powerlifting. Yeah.
You focus on the squat, bench, and deadlift, you'll get.
I don't know. Maybe some people add like cardio. You don't have to do any of that cardio shit anyway. I mean, they can. Depends. I don't know. Did you start off at 500 pounds? You're just a big 500-pound fat guy? Well, then there you go. I don't think it's for you. You know what I mean? But the majority of people that lift are usually these fucking twig people that start lifting because, I don't know, they didn't grow up or something. They eat peasant slave food. You know what I mean? So they want to go and think they're going to get big lifting weight or whatever. They're going to do something.
Big quads, as seen here, big glutes.
Yeah.
You'll get an overdeveloped lower chest from benching with an aggressive arch and triceps. Quads, glutes, lower chest.
Then? Yeah, but why would you bench with an arch then? I don't know anybody, when I was lifting, I don't know anybody that was benching with an arch, okay?
It's the appearance of saggy chest and wide hips, which is literally the opposite of what you want in your physique. And if you look at all the muscle groups that get underdeveloped through the squat, bench, and deadlift, right? When you focus on the squat, bench, and deadlift, you underdevelop the upper chest, the lats, the side delts, the biceps, and even a bit of the ham.
No, you don't. Your entire on a flat bench, your entire chest gets worked out, man. It just gets worked out more if you move the variations. But it gets worked out, the entire chest. That's why people do push-ups, the entire chest, flat push-ups on the ground. The entire chest gets worked. This is bullshit. He's making this stuff up. The glutes are going to get worked too if you're deadlifting because you're pulling from the ground up. So if you're doing multiple sets and repetitions, the glutes get worked. And so does the thigh, the quads get worked and the thighs. They all get worked all at once, except for the calf muscles. Those you're going to have to do separate, the calves, because they're not getting worked there because your calves are flat. They're static. Now, lower chest, triceps, your triceps are going to get worked because you're bench pressing, dude. You're bench pressing, it's always going to get worked. What else is here? Lats. Your lats, yeah, I don't know. Your lats are going to get worked too because if you're pulling a heavy weight off the floor, it's pulling you down. It's pulling your back muscles down at very heavy weight or whatever. Upper chest, lats, side delts. Your side delts, I don't know. If you well, you need to incorporate rowing exercises. Would be the fifth exercise. For your back area, just do rows and they'll get worked. The delts will get worked, and so will the back. I mean, it's not something you need to worry about. They will get worked, man. See what I mean? If you're smart about it. But as long as protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown, then you'll see those contractile proteins. If not, then this is all just a waste of time, what he's talking about.
Hamstrings and possibly abs. So all of the most important muscles for your physique, right? Literally the lats, side delts, upper chest, and biceps, they all get underdeveloped.
This just show me this stuff just shows me how amateurish this guy is. He lacks experience because he has never tried any of these things to find out. So he's trying to tell you this will not work for you. This will not work. How do you know it won't work? Did you go out there and try it? I did, and I know it will work. So I don't know what he's talking about. He's got zero experience. Then he shows these phony people like, what's his face here with the legs and this other dude, these weird guys that are like on either juice steroids or the influencers, some phony shit. You know what I mean? This is just goofy.
You focus on chasing.
Because he can't show himself and show his own experiences, talk about his own experiences. Guess why? Because he has none. He has no body, this guy that's talking on this video. He's got no body and no experience. So he's got to show other people because he can't show himself. Want to know why? Because he doesn't have anything to show. There's nothing to show. He wants to explain to you how to do it, but he never did it himself. Get it? You understand me, man? Only a person who actually did it could explain it to you. How the fuck could this guy tell you that this isn't going to work when he doesn't even lift weights? He's never built muscle or lifted or done anything.
The squat, bench, and deadlift. And you can see, right, these are
of course, yeah.
photos from starting strength.
Yeah, sure. And this is based on your experience, of course, yeah.
They have some pretty abysmal physiques.
Sure they do, yeah.
Same here. And Will Tennyson.
Yeah, they have pretty abysmal physiques, but they're not powerlifting. Where's your physique? Prove it to us.
And also, I think this is Johnny Candido, who's a powerlifter as well.
Yeah, so, but that's not you. But Johnny Candido isn't you. Let's see you.
That's why you shouldn't be chasing these traditional strength standards at all, right? Especially.
Why not? That strength standards, they mean nothing. They just mean you're getting better at lifting this weight. That's the point of motor unit recruitment. So you get better at doing that, like skateboarding, lifting a weight, climbing, doing a bunch of stuff.
The squat and deadlift, right? There's literally no point for you to be chasing the squat and deadlift, and it'll basically just make you a ugly, fat gym cell. Now,
no, it won't. He's making that shit up. Prove it to us then. Prove it. Did you get fat and ugly gym cell? Is that it? Is that why?
Let's talk about the new strength standards, right? The science-based hypertrophy strength standards, and the one that I'm going to give you.
Bro, I can show you people doing powerlifting. They look fucking amazing, bro. Some people, because they know what they're doing. All right? They're not your average lifter.
So, pros is, instead of just sticking to squat, bench, and deadlift and confined by the sport of powerlifting, which again, right, there used to be a lot worse.
Again, powerlifting is bodybuilding.
In the past, but I think it's a lot better now. But in general, the gym culture is still heavily influenced by powerlifting, and people still care about squatting and deadlifting, right? But when you do these science-based hypertrophy strength standards, you can actually pick isolation machine exercises that focus on the most important muscle groups, right? The specific muscle groups that literally get underdeveloped from the squat, bench, and deadlift, like the upper chest, the biceps, the lats, the abs, and the shoulders, right? So you can actually get...
No, they don't. He's making it up.
A really high appeal physique.
They don't get underdeveloped. If protein synthesis, well, first of all, how could they be underdeveloped if you're not growing? You've reached genetic limit, newbie gain limit, hard gainer bullshit, right? Because protein synthesis is not outpacing protein breakdown. Now, when it outpaces protein breakdown, it develops. See, it develops. Yeah.
And also, you can pick from way more exercises, like I talked about. You can have machines, you can have Smith machines, you can have cables, and you can pick criterias that fit optimal hypertrophy exercises. Now, the cons of this, right, the minor con is that it's much harder to standardize, right? That's a con when it comes to strength standards, right? Because someone can be doing a Prime Fitness chest press, whereas someone else can be doing a Nautilus Impact pin-loaded chest press, whereas someone can be doing a bench press on a split machine, whereas someone else can be doing a hoist crunch fitness chest press. So it's much harder to standardize because one machine, 50 pounds on one machine might feel like 30 pounds on another machine, and it's just a lot harder to work around. So I'm going to talk a bit about that as well, but I'm going to give you 2 levels of strength standards. So there's going to be level 1, which is basically the top 10% of strength, and this is like the standard 1 to 1.5 years of training that you should strength standards that you should get within 1 to 1.5 years of training, and that's going to be the 2-plate bench press, the 3-plate squat, and the 4-plate deadlift. Right, this is the common goal that you see a lot of these guys aim for. And then there's the level 2 strength standards, which come from 3 to 5 years of training and basically put you in the top 1% of strength. And that's going to be a 3-plate bench press, 4-plate squat, and a 5-plate deadlift. And the strength standards I'm going to give you in this video are basically going to fall into level 2, right, 3 to 5 years of training. So that's what you should expect. And if you can get to this level, right, in these exercises, you can actually kind of see this already, right? Let's say you can get to top 1% in terms of the preacher curl, then that means you're going to have some really Mogger biceps. If you can get into top 1% of an upper pec press, which I'll talk about as well, then you're going to get a really good.
Yeah, I mean, people, they isolate these parts, right? They isolate, right? Bodybuilding is powerlifting. Powerlifting is bodybuilding, is everything, bro. Fuck me, man. It's fucking every fucking exercise because they're just trying to target these areas, thinking that they're not targeting them. You understand me? They're doing specifics. That's all. But they don't know what they're doing because they don't understand that protein needs to outpace protein breakdown to build contractile proteins. They're just, people are lifting, pulling weight, doing weird things, man. They're just wasting their time eating carbs all day, slave food diet.
Upper chest. So again, right, these are going to take around 3 to 5 years of training to get there, depending on your current level of training.
What he says, it's going to take you 3 to 5 years to get there. Man, if protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown and it's consistent, then it's only going to take you a few months to get there. Get it? To whatever goal it is you're trying to get there. But eventually you'll reach, there'll be a limit. You'll reach a kind of a limit of these contractile proteins building up. I can't tell you what that weight will be. Maybe 255 pounds when you get there or something. Maybe that will be, it'll become much harder at that point. I don't know. I can't tell you for sure. It does become very difficult at some point to put on more contractile proteins. Because then it becomes dysfunctional. See what I mean? Because you only have so many muscle fibers and you can build these contractile proteins within them.
Right, 3 to 5 years total. But they're basically going to guarantee that you have a really developed muscle corresponding to that specific exercise. And to counter the problem of being hard to standardize, I'm going to be focusing on more common machines like the split machine, semi-machines like preacher bench and T-bar rows. Yeah, and you'll also see that I'm not going to cover every single muscle group in the entire body.
Think about why is it going to take him 5 years to get to whatever goal he's getting there? Because he's not doing anything properly. He's relying on weights to build muscles. I'm relying on protein to build my muscles. These jokers are relying on weights to build their muscles. Well, we'll stay there and keep relying on these weights. Maybe one day in 100 years, keep lifting those weights. Maybe one day you'll be able to gain 1 pound of contractile proteins. But while you're doing that, guess what? I'll be down over there eating in the restaurants, at buffets and restaurants all day, all night. Guess what? And I'll be building these contractile proteins and they'll come snap, baby, so fast within a few months. So you go and stay there and keep relying on those weights. Like I said, maybe those weights have magic powers. Maybe one day they'll build you a contractile protein, but I really doubt it.
Instead, I'm just going to cover the most important muscle groups that actually contribute to your aesthetics the most, which means that there's not going to be a lot of leg exercises in this list.
Okay.
So I'll just show it to you right now, right? It's going to be preacher curls for 50 kilograms for 5 reps. That's for your biceps. T-bar row for 5, maybe 6 plates for 5 reps. Wide grip weighted pull-ups for 40 kilos for 5 reps. Although depending on your body weight, you might have to adjust more or less, right? If you're a higher body weight, then it's going to lean more towards 30. And if you're lower body weight, it might even go 45 to 50.
Okay.
Decline sit-ups, 20 to 30 kilograms for 5 reps. And again, this depends on the max incline because
Yeah, doesn't really, none of this really matters. You just have to just lift the weight. 5 by 10, 5 times 10. That's all. 5 times 10, 5 times 12. 5 times 12 is better. 5 times 12. 5 times 12, everything broke. Who cares? Doesn't really matter what you're doing there. Just get this damage. That's all. And then make sure protein is outpacing protein breakdown.
some sit-up benches can be super, okay, not that steep, can be super steep, whereas other benches can be not so steep.
Does it really matter whether it's steep or not steep? Just overwork that muscle so you can get those damages, the micro damages in the muscle. Overwork it, bro. Get it? Just overwork the fuck out of it.
And the sit-ups are going to be a lot easier to do. And that's going to give you the abs. Reverse grip Smith machine bench press, 125 kilograms for 5 reps. That's going to be one of the best and most accessible upper pec exercises, because if you imagine a reverse grip Smith machine bench press, it's basically the same motion as a low to high cable fly, and it's going to focus on shoulder flexion, and it actually works the upper.
You know, here's the thing, though. If you're eating carbohydrates and you're pumping your muscles up, too, with the whatever he's doing here, like moving these weights around, trying to hypertrophy and pumping them up with carbohydrates, bro, it's going to fill out anyways all over in every space. It's going to fill out nicely, get it? So there isn't going to be one part that's underdeveloped or overdeveloped in contractile proteins. Impossible, because the sarcoplasm will fill it out. Get it? But again, you'll misconstrue that as being muscle, the sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. A lot of people do, because they're eating fucking artificial food called carbs. You're building artificial muscle.
Chest more than most.
It's not natural. Carbs are not natural. Potatoes and things, they're not natural in the human diet. You eating them is artificial, so it'll create something artificial. Yeah, because it's glycogen. It'll load in the muscle, bro. It's an energy source. That's what's going to happen. A lot of people misconstrue that as gains. It's not gains.
Impresses. Right, again, Smith.
I got a stronger, but I didn't get a bigger. Or I got a bigger and I didn't get a stronger. You know, you got a bigger, you didn't get stronger. What did you get? Nothing.
Machine seated shoulder press, 100 kilos for 5 reps.
Yeah, okay.
And as a bonus, you can also try and get a 30 to 40 kilogram neck curl, and try to not cheat too much when you do
Whatever,
it.
this is just a waste of time.
Because it'll make your abs look more visible at higher body fat percentages, and just make them look even better when you get lean.
They will? What will make them look better? Eating fucking carbohydrates and pumping your muscles, the pump? This is the problem. Nobody is outpacing protein breakdown, but they are outpacing glycogen breakdown because they love eating carbs, because carbs are easy to eat. They're easier to eat than eating protein all the time. See what I mean? It's easy to eat carbs all day. Fuck, I can eat carbs all day. Cakes and fucking pizzas and shit. Fuck, I can eat 2 pizzas in one shot. That's nothing. That's nothing. But pizza doesn't build muscles, bro. Get it?
So decline sit-up for the abs, reverse grip Smith machine bench press, so you can
But it'll build you some nice phony ones.
actually have a full upper chest. Smith machine seated shoulder.
Okay.
Because it's going to train your upper chest way more than any pronated grip bench press. So
all right, this is
means
too
you're
long
moving
now.
towards these strength standards. So, let's say
Strength standards. What are strength standards? So what's the difference between motor unit strength and contractile strength? What's the difference between the two? See, they all go really go kind of together. You know, they go together. You know, they go together because you got muscles on your body. You're born with muscle. Duh. You're recruiting motor units that are already there in the muscle. Now, what happens if you get more contractile proteins? Well, they got more places to proliferate, right? Giving you more lifting abilities, maybe more speed, more lifting abilities, more power, and a bunch of stuff, okay? You know what I mean, man?
you start your workout with
Yeah, okay.
win, right? So that you can call that if you want.
Man, he makes it sound like rocket science or something. This isn't complicated. This isn't complicated.
That's how I would suggest you structure this. Call it more raw prime.
This is almost like fighting. People want to complicate fighting. They call it martial arts, and then in the world of the martial arts world, since I was a kid, they overcomplicate fighting. They think it's about all these fancy moves and everything. Fighting has to be fancy and everything. Man, real fighting outside with people, real people, normal people outside is it isn't fancy, bro. It doesn't look good at all, okay? It isn't like choreographed like in a movie. It isn't choreographed. Everything you're doing in martial arts is choreographed. Everything. You're fighting with a partner and they're telling you, you got to block and you got to do this and you got to do that. All that fighting is just bullshit. and then they practice moving faster. They want to do fast moves on you, like slapping moves, pushing you down and everything. Well, that would be fighting, right? You know what I mean? But it's not just bullshit. Look, just like bodybuilding, it's really simple. When protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown, that's when you're going to see these contractile proteins because muscle's postmitotic, okay? So you go to the gym and you lift, you get these micro damages, and then you feel kind of pain for a couple of days, and then you keep outpacing the breakdown, okay? So that you can build up these contractile proteins. They'll go through something called a remodeling, and then you come back and you do it again if you want. That's all. That's it. It's really simple. But if you just want to pull like motor units, then stay there in the gym adapted and keep pulling these motor units. And good luck. Enjoy yourself. And eat carbohydrates to pretend that you build muscles. Eat carbs all day. And they'll blow up and give you this illusion that you built some contractile proteins. When meanwhile, it's just motor units you're recruiting. Okay? That's all. It's fake. It's fake. It's illusionary. Fake. It's like I said, it's like martial arts. It's illusionary. It's all these fancy moves and everything. You don't need all these fancy moves. They look nice. They look cool. They're great in movies and stuff. But in reality, you don't need them. You don't need them. Get it? You don't need any of this. You don't need weight. You don't need to lift weights to build muscles. What you need is protein. Protein is going to build muscles. Weights aren't going to build muscles. You could lift weights forever and ever in the gym. Keep lifting, but it ain't going to happen. I'll see you in the next one. Don't you think about that? Like, subscribe, support the channel. This is ridiculous. And yes, raw meat is good for you. Raw meat yes, I can tell you right now. Eating raw animal products will build muscle a lot faster and even better, okay? Better quality. And you'll have better health because you won't be ingesting broken DNA from cooked animal products, which are going to mutate you and fuck you up and possibly give you disease. That's why even people that lift in the gym, they're lifting slaves, they get sick. They have all kinds of problems. They're always getting sick and shit, whatever. Some I know got cancer. Some got diabetes, some get cancer, whatever. And they always say, but I was lifting and everything. I'm supposed to be healthy and all that. Yeah, you're not healthy because you're not eating healthy. Health starts with what you put in your mouth, and that's where all health begins.
Diet, how to use carbs effectively to maximize motor unit recruitment.
How to use carbs effectively to maximize motor unit recruitment. Carbs don't recruit motor units. Lifting does. But whatever. Yeah, you need this meat and stuff. Yeah, you need primal diet is the best, okay? Whatever.
And also science-based training so that once you determine the best physique for your body structure, you can get there as fast.
You don't need science-based training at all, man. Just go to the gym and damage those muscles. Just use the weights and damage them. That's all. Just do as many exercises as you can for every single muscle group. That's all. Just overwork it like crazy. And then fuck off from there. And go eat a lot of good quality protein. And raw, if you can, is possible. Fucking eat liver, blend it, drink it, whatever. Eat a lot of raw beef. Beef's amazing. Go get some fucking ground up raw grass-fed beef and eat a ton of it. If you have to, add some raw eggs in there too, whatever, I don't know. Just eat good quality stuff and organs. Drink some beef blood, buy some raw milk. That's it.
As possible and speed run your physique through the most meta optimal science-based training splits. And of course there's also the
optimal science-based. There isn't anything optimal science-based. There's nothing, man. Science tells you what builds muscles. When protein synthesis outpaces protein breakdown, that's when you see that mass on that myofibrillar. Otherwise you ain't seeing jack shit. That's all. Science tells you that. There's science lifting. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, friends. Gotta go.